The interview process is pretty standard. At least I believe, compared to most companies. But one thing that I love about Gusto is that you don't repeat the same conversation that you had throughout your interview. So that's really important. Our interview process typically uh, consists of maybe three high level steps. One being what we call match talk. So you would meet with an interview or a hiring manager, I should say, and you just have a conversation about what you want to be doing, your goals. The hiring manager will explain, what's going on with the team, the company, what role or roles they're looking for. And from there, if there is mutual interest to move to the next step, is what we do. We call a TPA, which is a technical portfolio assignment and really, or assessment, I should say. And that is where you would, as an interviewee, show 1 to 2 of your projects just with the hiring manager again. So it's a very intimate conversation, but this is really just to get an idea of now your actual work product, what the quality of your work is, how you think, your storytelling as well. At least for the interviews that I conduct, it doesn't need to be a well polished presentation, but it's really just, again, to get that sense of what work you have and how you go about thinking and conducting your process. From there, then, assuming again there's mutual interest to move forward, we go to what we call like our final, we call it the face-to-face round, and we haven't changed that name since COVID times. Obviously, we're face to face on Zoom, not in person, but that is really the final round interviews that consist of about 4 to 5 interviews, depending on what type of role you're going for. So you would have a portfolio assessment with a broader audience this time. So we would have typically a couple other designers that would join that interview, perhaps maybe a product manager as well, depending on the role. You then have what you call a values and motivations alignment interview. This is actually, I think, one of my favorite interviews. It's pretty unique to Gusto, but it's a way that Gusto has been able to scale in line with our company values. It's a very mission driven company. It's really important that we're bringing people on board that resonate with the values and really are aligned with the right motivations for why they want to join the company, passionate about serving small businesses. Really what you can do to give back is something that we really look for in the candidates. And so this interview was with somebody that you probably don't even work with. They're people that are trained within Gusto to conduct these interviews, and it's really just a conversation about who you are, what drives you, what's kind of your growth and learning mindset, why you're interested in joining Gusto. So it's really a casual conversation, but really gets at who are you as a person, and why is it that you're interested in joining the company. We then also have a product management collaboration exercise. So you meet with a product manager. It's a behavioral interview where you talk through certain scenarios and situations for the product manager to get a sense of how you work. Some examples perhaps from past experiences working in collaborative product engineering teams. And then if you are interviewing for a very senior level position or for a management position, we will do what do we call it? We call it a mentorship exercise, where you would get paired with another design leader who's trained to conduct these interviews. And essentially it's a little bit of a role play interview where you would go about looking at some designs, acting as if you were giving feedback and mentoring another designer. It's really important that when we're hiring, senior level candidates, that we know that they are also able to give back to the rest of the more junior designers, even if you're not going to be in a formal management position. And then lastly, we'll do a hiring manager interview. So at Gusto, I might throw in the word PE when we're talking, but it's sort of a silly thing. But I have come to love it. Gusto's really big on empowerment, and so we call our managers PEs, people empowerers. So you'll have what we call a hiring PE interview, and that's with the hiring manager again. So it's somebody that you've now spoken with a couple of times through the match talk and the TPA, and you would have that kind of final conversation for the hiring manager to ask more specific, deeper questions, based on, I guess, their experience, any questions that they've sort of come up with throughout the process that they may want to probe on a bit more. But that concludes then the interview process. After that, we do a debrief collectively with everybody that was part of the interview process. And then if we move to an offer, we would schedule an offer call.